here, we invite others, if you have a question, to raise your hand and put it forward to Terry. Feel free.
Is somebody going to ask me the question? Or...
I'm not sure if Zena wants to moderate the questions or if they'll come through and I ask them.
When people raise their hand, we'll call your name and then you can unmute and then ask the question directly to Terry.
Oh, we have a hand up.
Yep. Chris Hunt.
Hey, Chris, how are you, sir?
Chris, I think you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, unmute yourself, Chris.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Not too bad. So how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Terry, we actually met a few times years ago, actually. Don't know if you remember me, but yeah, fellow Guyanese boy. We met.
Chris, you were in sports, right? Something to do with sports?
I was doing sports and music, yeah. But yeah, a few years later on, now definitely a lot further ahead in the music game. Yeah, I just wanted to find out what's your thoughts on the R&B genre. Do you ever see that cycle coming back into the charts?
Oh yeah, yeah. The R&B genre won't go away. Look, the funniest thing is, it's why the black music charts became urban, right? Yeah. When New Kids on the Block, In Sync, all of these acts started coming, and look at it now. Yeah. With Harry Styles and this one, that one. Where are the black R&B bands? Where are going back right to the Temptations, or with New Edition, or Belle Biv DeVoe, in kind of the rap R&B genre. Where is it? And then it was the same. I mean, I think Destiny's Child. Okay, over here we had Eternal and Mystique. Yeah, it will come back. But here's the thing: those acts and the music takes crafting. Yeah. Right. And also, quite frankly, when you listen to a lot of the production coming out of the UK, even in the rap and when I say the rap, I'm talking about grime and even like drill. It's not that. Yeah. That's only appealing to a neighborhood. That's not even crossing to other parts of the country. Yeah. So how are you going to expect that to cross internationally? Yeah. And the reason why I think, if you look at Afro beats, because, the beats are actually, and the production is something that has been right across, because look, you can go back to Bo Diddley, right? Listen to Bo Diddley or Fats Domino, or even like Laverne Baker. These are artists of the 50s, and you'll hear that beat in their records. So to us, it's not a sound we're unfamiliar with. Yeah. So quite frankly, that's why, you even look at JLS. The reason why JLS are coming back and have been, popular is because the world misses the black boy and girl bands. It's been part of the rock and roll tradition from even before, before soul music, it was doo-wop. Yeah.
And, just to follow up on that quickly, sorry, in terms of exporting British talent to America, do you think that, because R&B, I'd say doesn't get the necessary love or support that drill gets over here, do you think that it's important to maybe go over there first, or or
it doesn't work like that? Doesn't work like that.
I mean, it's worked for the LMA, it's Tiana Major Lines, but I mean, I know conventionally it won't work like that, but yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Can I interject to that as well? Can I just quickly interject to that? There's bigger markets out. You got Japan, you got Germany, who are good, strong markets as well.
Yeah, but let me just say something. Jamaican saying, dance a yard before you dance abroad, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you look, if I hadn't perfected, whether I was in music production or whether I was in television or radio, all the things I've done, if I didn't make it here, what am I taking elsewhere? They would have thousands of me. You know, you had to be unique, you had to be different. You got to remember this, Chris. I remember I flew Boyz II Men to Jamaica to do their first ever show. Motown was vacillating about whether they were going to sign them or push the band. And it was myself and Karen Sherlock. Karen Sherlock was the head of Motown International, and my label was under her. And they lost their luggage in some crazy stuff that generally happens on tour. And they had these banana yellow suits and one bright red. They didn't even look coordinated. And Gerald Busby at the time, he was the CEO of Motown, didn't want them to go on the show. Clarence said, Terry, well, you know, if you and Karen want to take the risk. I said, Clarence, it's my show. They've auditioned for me. I've heard them in the rehearsals. I think they're going to be a smash. They weren't even on my label. But the sound took me back. And then they modernized the sound for a younger generation. So they stood in the Motown tradition, but they were for a hip hop generation. So they hadn't lost their roots. They just reapplied the roots. How many of the artists you're talking about are thinking like that?
It's true. It's true.
We can't go forward without knowing what has gone before us, because that's how we make ourselves better. Nothing exists in a vacuum. Nothing. That's why you can't breathe in space.
Cool. I have a question also coming through from Laura.
Miss
Mocker.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Absolutely intrigued by this discussion today. So thank you very much. I've learned a lot myself and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you. I'm going to be cheeky. I kind of have two questions, but I'm going to roll it into one. And my first question, you got to ask for more. So my first question is, why do you think the UK and the US have such a unique relationship in terms of culture? And then the second question is, looking into the relationships of the US and the UK and how it's also stemming into Africa with the collaboration culture in music.
Okay, so let's deal with the first one. We'll do it in two parts. The first question was, why is the UK and US so similar in culture, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Right, keep your mic open. I'm gonna have an exchange.
Okay.
What's the first language of America?
English.
What's the first language of Britain?
English.
Right. Who took people to America outside of the indigenous Native American or Indian?
Okay, the English, the Spanish, the French, the Dutch. Yeah.
Right. And who transported us to the Americas, North, South, and the West Indies, so-called?
Right. Okay. Okay.
And who broke our backs culturally and mentally to assimilate to what?
Yep, the English Western culture.
Right.
Okay.
And how did we retain our Africanness without being beaten to death?
Music, song, storytelling.
And food.
Of course.
And fashion. So when I got to America, they were not aliens to me. They were my cousins. because we probably went on the same ship.
Yeah.
And we were sold from plantation to plantation. So of a mindset, of a cultural connection, we would link to the things we identified with. So there is no real difference between us because we're all probably some aspect of blood and genetic. Remember, there's more genetic diversity within Africa than there is outside of Africa.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. So for me, part of my success in the States was because I understood, and going back to Chris's question, if I'm launching a band now, anything, music or the business or what I'm doing with Niche on Demand, why I support Niche on Demand, by the way, is one, it's two very, very astute women. Secondly, their manners, their acumen, the way they deal with me, you know, and most importantly, they're a Black business. Not that I'm talking about Black doing business with Black people just exclusively because we work in an interconnected world, but I have always, even when I've worked for the biggest companies in the world, if I walk through that door, I also want to see people like me. And if I'm in power, that's what I respectfully ask for. And if they don't do it, then I do. And that's why I've had the hits. Now that's the first question. And that's why we're connected. Okay. Tell me the second question. Why? I think it's about the connection to Africa.
Yeah, well, more so the collaboration culture.
Okay, let me tell you about the collaboration culture. Pan-Africanism, where do you think that started?
I don't think it, oh God, I don't know. Ah!
Right. Pan-Africanism didn't start in Africa.
Well, I wouldn't have said it would have started in Africa because the Africans would have a stronger sense of, well, connection and roots.
Right.
So, yeah.
And Pan-Africanism was actually started out of the Caribbean, you know, formulated, believe it or not, here in London. And
are you talking Marcus Garvey?
No, not just Marcus Garvey, but even before Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey, you know, he I guess built the biggest Black organization, you know, at its height, I think it was about 2 million people. And he had a ship called the Black Star Liner, which was modeled on the White Star Liner. Do you know what the White Star Liner owned?
No.
The Titanic.
Okay.
Right. So he went to the biggest shipbuilders to get that inspiration. But remember this, we're talking about the colonial period. No African country owned their ports. The ports were all controlled by the Europeans. So you might have all the goods in the world, but you can't ship it nowhere. Then the technology at the time, the ships at the time, he had to rely on them for parts, maintenance. It was just a mess. And then there was, you know, in those days, how do you administer 2 million people when you've literally started? Remember, he's from Jamaica. So going to America and then starting all of that. So there's a whole lot of backstory that I'm not going to get into. But the reason why the music and these collaborations are coming now. Now, these collaborations aren't new. During apartheid, when Miriam Makeba, do you know who Miriam Makeba is?
I do.
Right. So that's it.
Okay.
And she had a great song called Kauleza Mama. Kauleza, you know, they're coming, Mama, they're coming, about the Soweto uprisings and stuff. So anyway, Harry Belafonte, this name,
right?
Remember? Right? Okay. Him and Sidney Poitier were groundbreakers, both Caribbean origin. Marcus Garvey, Caribbean origin. Malcolm X. You know, I could go on and on and on. Okay. So there's been an inextricable link between the Caribbean and mainland America, right? Which actually raised the Black consciousness of the global diaspora. That's why we can't just talk about Africa and America and South America and the Caribbean, you know, and you go the other way and you're talking about Zanzibar and you're talking about parts of India and you're talking about the Pacific. We were taken everywhere. So when you want to break the world, you got to know the world, because wherever you land, you want people to know you see them. So Black people, stop talking about being invisible to white people. Start to be visible to yourselves. Why do you think Bob Marley could go to New Zealand and the Maoris love him? Because he spoke for the oppressed. That's what hip hop did. Look, even when you go around the world, the French rappers, I haven't even gone into that, you know, with the first breakout artist, MC Solar. I could talk about Holland and the Dutch, right? You know, the Spanish. Hip hop has become what reggae kickstarted, to talk to the diaspora. And hence, that's why you've got these collaborations like with Yemi Alade,
Yemi Alade, yeah.
Yemi Alade and Maxi Priest and is it Twee Savage and
Brandy, yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Meek Mill and Gigs.
Right. So all I'm saying is, look at me, right? I'm nearly 60 years old, but I can tell you the whole story. Because all of these people, I know, whether it's through my shows and that I've personally produced, or I was, you know, the CEO at one time and chairman of Trace, which is the biggest global urban cultural platform in the world. You can find it on Sky and you can find it all around the world. And I'm their cultural and kind of, you know, ambassador, if you like. I stood down from Trace because, as Gus said, you know, when I had cancer, I took 4 years out of the business. And now I feel energized and empowered because, look, the collaborations have to work for us. That's why, you know, I work with Niche on Demand. That's why I work with Luster. That's why I work with Clarence Avons or Quincy Jones or whoever it is. Because no one is an island.
With that collaboration thing in your head right there, tell me about how you collaborated the reggae and the hip hop artists back in the day. How you merged those two together.
Yeah. So I'll just finish off. Have I answered all your questions now?
Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. And then some. Absolutely.
Okay. So I'll go on to Gus, your questions now. Well, I did a show called, look, there's a chap called Kingsley Cooper and my other friend in Jamaica, Lenny Littlewhite. Now, Kingsley Cooper, he is probably the biggest known for having a Black modeling agency out of the Caribbean that produced some huge names, right? And he's also involved in the entertainment business and managing different reggae artists. And my friend Lenny used to make a lot of the videos for a lot of the artists, and he had popular sitcoms and soaps in Jamaica. So I went into business with all of them, right? At the time, there was this mad rush because what had happened was I did a show called New Year Jam Down with Channel 4 in Jamaica with acts that you will know, Gus. Heavy D and the Boys, right? Prior to that, you must remember names like Chub Rock.
Of course.
Do you remember names like Shinehead?
Of course, with his big old glasses.
Yeah, right. So people listening, go and look up these names: Chub Rock, Shinehead. You know, that's what led to Shabba Ranks and Johnny Gill. Shabba Ranks and Maxi Priest, and then all the American companies were coming to Jamaica. It was like a mad gold rush. And so Kingsley Cooper, myself, Lenny Littlewhite, we were putting on the shows that everybody wanted to be at. And I had the international television right to broadcast it around the world. And that's how the dance hall kind of got the sort of marketing fusion with hip hop and rap. But look, I didn't create that, right? Because remember this, that most of those rappers, in fact, the rap game started out in the Caribbean. These were all first or second generation people from across the Caribbean. That's why when I talk about rap soul, which is a form of poetic calypso, rapping, that's how you delivered it. That was the Trinidadians. They brought that to rap.
And I always say the Trinidadians do that sing rap style anyway. When they talk, they sing rap anyway.
Yeah, and then before that, on the American side, you had the Last Poets and people like Gil Scott-Heron.
Yeah.
You know, look these people up. They're all in living memory because I met them all, or they'd been on my shows.
Most deaf. And listen, we are coming to a point now where we have to wind down. Is there any more?
And I haven't even talked about the West Coast with me and Ice-T.
Oh.
I did Ice-T's first ever TVs.
Tracy.
You know, but anyway, we don't have the time. But I hope I've answered everybody's questions. I hope there's been some enlightenment. I hope you take this away and do some positive things and just be the best that you can for those around you. And for those people who are starting in business or want to break artists, I say know the history, look back. If you're going to craft your songs, your beats, you know, take inspiration from those who have gone before. And it's just like, you know, where would hip hop be without James Brown and Maceo and, you know, the 808 and the Technics turntable?
Not a true word, you know. But I like to add like people like Ramsey Lewis into the mix as well.
Yeah. Look, don't forget, going back to Chris's question, remember Def Jam also had Def Soul.
Yep, of course.
And, you know,
Sean and them guys.
Tashawn, you know, Alison Williams, you know.
Orange Juice.
Yeah, you know, so, you know, it's all interconnected.
Yeah. But what's next for you, though? What's next for Terry Jervis? What's the next projects?
This one. I'm gonna make you jealous, Gus. This is my Spirit of the Pharaoh. Anyway, that's my new graphic novel. We're making a movie. In fact, if you go on the Niche on Demand, I mean, Zena talked about it at the beginning, but again, this is about empowerment and empowering each other. Just like, you know, as I said to you, I'm working with a number of different people, both getting back into the music side. I'm developing a new music show, a music sitcom, and I'm doing Spirit of the Pharaoh because next year is the 100th anniversary of the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun, and this is a chance for us to really understand. Just as Fela Kuti, you know the reason why Fela Kuti called his band Egypt 80, changed the name of the band to Egypt 80. This is Fela Kuti, because he wanted the world to know that Egypt was an African civilization. It was an African philosophy. It was African science. And I'm in living memory of meeting all those people that were there, you know, the historians that broke all of this through DNA testing, radiocarbon dating, all the stuff to prove, right? But again, the best way to do it is to just do it, to show the world. Yeah. That's what I'm doing with Spirit of the Pharaoh. And then that's what I'm doing with Luster and with Niche on Demand. They've got their crowdfunding platform starting, and you know, yes, you can go to Indiegogo, you can go to all these other ones. No, but I wanted to empower them because of what they're standing for and what they have in their remit. Because it's like me, if I didn't have that money back in the day running those departments, do you think I could have funded the Def Jam Tour TV? Do you think I could have funded Ice-T's Badass TV and, you know, buy in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Part of what I'm saying to us is we've got to make the economics stand up for ourselves.
I hear that. Most definitely. And Mr. Jervis, I want to thank you for your time, mate. It's been a pleasure, and it's been a brainstorming session which has been very fruitful for me, and I'm sure for others as well. And I should pass back over to Zena NOD.
And thank you, Gus. Thank you.
Oh, there's
everybody.
another hand up. There's another hand up. Sorry,
Oh.
Laura.
No,
Wasn't that
sorry,
Laura? Oh.
that's me clapping. I'm clapping.
Oh. We'll take that. We'll take that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Gus, for hosting an incredible session with Terry. Terry, legend. Every time I listen to you speak, I hear something new. We weren't kidding when we said we are all connected at the roots by the same Babao tree, and you really brought that to life for us today. So really appreciate it.
And one thing I want to say, because I just seen his name come up, Orlando Gittins. This is another man that should be celebrated big time, because he used to manage Wayne Marshall, had a label called Soul Town Records, and he was one of the first people I started working British record labels owned by a black man that I started working with. And again, that collaboration, when I was launching Spirit of the Pharaoh version 1.0, where I created the first virtual reality superhero video game that was put into Virgin Megastore, and Orlando put out the soundtrack on Soul Town Records. And I remember we had giant cutouts in Tower Records and Virgin Records because of him.
So there are so, sorry, Terry, I'm just there are so many stories, and we need to have more of these sessions because we could have a whole series of conversations. So just want to be respectful of everybody's time and just thank everybody for coming today. As Terry said, please check out nicheondemand.com. We do have a vision to fund these stories and make sure that these stories are out there so people can hear them. So if you want to hear more stories like this and also see projects like Spirit of the Pharaoh come alive, please go to the Niche on Demand page, which is in the chat if you want to click through the link today and have a look. And thank you for coming and thank you for supporting today. And until the next time, peace and take care.
When we move, the whole world follows.